Today on BRStv Tank Trials ULM edition, I'm out on vacation, but we have a guest celebrity appearance with Mr. Saltwater. Mark is going to share what a ULM means to him, as well as share some ways he's implemented ULM tank designs for his clients.
I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank from Mr. Saltwater Tank TV, coming to you today on BRStv to talk to you about ultra-low maintenance tanks. Ryan reached out to me as he wanted me to talk to you about what ultra-low tanks mean to me and how I've made my 448-gallon tank and the tanks that I built for my clients ultra-low maintenance. To give you context about how I look at ultra-low maintenance tanks, I'm a road warrior. I did over 50 trips last year, both inside and outside of the United States. And some of those trips took me away from my tank for weeks at a time. And my 440-gallon tank, it didn't blink an eye. Why? Because it's ultra low maintenance. Now I'm going to talk to you more about my tank in a minute. And also part of what I do is that I design systems for clients. They come to me, and even if they don't use the terminology ultra low maintenance tank, what they often are asking for is a low maintenance tank. They want a tank that mainly cares for itself, and when it's time to do maintenance on it, that maintenance is easy to do. They're busy people, they want to enjoy their tanks, but they don't want their tank to run their life. In the words of one of my clients, if I get busy and I need to put off that maintenance for a couple days, the tank can't fall apart. That same client maintains her tank by herself, spending about an hour a week on the tank despite its 430-gallon size. For another one of my clients who travels frequently, a tank controller so that he and I can remotely monitor the tank is crucial. Everything on the system is also easy to access, and emergency shutoffs are easy to reach without the need of a smartphone or tablet. When I set out to design my 450-gallon tank, my first concern was a tank this size was going to eat up a lot of my time. I knew tank automation would drastically reduce the amount of time I spent maintaining the tank and give me crucial safeguards if something went wrong. Automation on my tank is handled by my Neptune Systems Apex that makes RODI water if my reservoir gets low, handles automatic water changes, doses kalkwasser, controls my calcium reactor, maintains correct water temperature on my display tank and my multiple quarantine tanks. My Apex also turns on and off the lights on these quarantine tanks as well. This part of automation is the sexy part, and the risk prevention part is the not so sexy part that is frequently overlooked. If I'm far away from my tank and something goes wrong, it's one thing to know something goes wrong, it's another thing to have my tank controller automatically do something about it in a split second. For example, if the pH in my tank gets abnormally high, then the pump on my calc stirrer will shut off, and in case the pump is stuck on, a solenoid shuts off the water flow to the calc stirrer. If a heater fails and causes an electricity spike, my tank controller will shut down the heater and alert me automatically. My tank controller also gives me secondary information on my tank. For example, while a webcam on my tank can show me if water is moving in my system, a flow meter will tell me if the return pump is on and pushing water back into my display tank. And as a backup, a Reef link will also alert me about the sick pump. The Reef link also controls the vortex in my tank, which vary the flow patterns and intensity throughout the day to mimic flow in the ocean and to give my corals the flow that they need. Refugiums for nutrient control can help a tank on its ultra-low maintenance journey, and I use them on my builds when I can put in a refugium of good size. Keep in mind, my client tanks are rarely under 350 gallons, therefore I want a large refugium to handle the number of fish and the size of fish that I put in the system. More fish and bigger fish means more waste, which means I need a bigger refugium. On my 450-gallon tank, I didn't put on a refugium because I didn't have the space for it. As you can tell, there's not a lot of working room in here, and this whole wall used to be covered with quarantine tanks. Now I've reduced the number of quarantine tanks in this room, which has given me the space to put on a decent-sized refugium. As soon as I'm done babysitting this 20-year-old hammer coral. This is a client of mine, he's building a new tank. He asked me to babysit it while his build is in progress. One of the biggest aspects of ultra-low maintenance systems that's often overlooked is to focusing on quality equipment and quality system designs. There's a piece of your tank equipment that drives you crazy because it always breaks, or a piece of maintenance on your tank that's hard to do, you're gonna find an excuse to not deal with that piece of equipment and not do the maintenance. For example, on one of my early Reef tanks, instead of buying a skimmer stand that needed to get the skimmer to the right water height in the sump, I decided to save myself 20 bucks and make a skimmer stand out of egg crate or light diffuser and zip ties. This was a disaster because whenever I would clean the skimmer cup, I had to take it off the skimmer body. The skimmer stand would fall over, dump skim aid in my tank, and it drove me crazy. It got to the point where I would absolutely hate and find any excuse not to work on the skimmer, not to even clean the cup, because I knew it was going to cause me a headache. So if you have to spend a little more time saving your money or planning out your system design for your ultra low maintenance tank, that's time and money well spent. By having my tank and my client's tanks ultra low maintenance, we can spend more time enjoying the tank versus having to constantly fiddle with it. Now, don't get me wrong, we enjoy maintaining our systems. However, we want as much to happen automatically as possible and be able to do maintenance on our timelines.